Hello and welcome to the Afro-Dominion Show. My name is Freeman Singirankabo and thank you so very much for tuning into our program today. Welcome to all of you and happy Thursday to each and every one of you tuning into this program, be it on television, radio station, and social media. In particular, those of you joining us live from the social media platforms, be sure to subscribe. Click on the button that reads follow, subscribe, and follow, depending on whichever platform that you are in. You may be wondering why, so that you may be able to know that we are live, just like right now, so that you can join the conversation in real time. A huge welcome to those of you as well. Join the conversation right now as it happens, since we are live. And we are really thrilled for the opportunity to appear in front of you and share the most important discussions that we care so deeply about in each and every one of our days here at Afro-Dominion. And I also want to let you know, guys, that the conversation we get to have here, it's a conversation we have with you truthfully, boldly, and with no apologies. You may be wondering also why, because these are the conversations that we care so deeply about. The conversation that's been in our mind for so long, the conversation that we want to have with you without sugarcoating nothing. And it is also in the spirit that everything we discuss with you guys here at Afro-Dominion, it is all in the spirit of truth, love, and trust. And these are also the benchmarks by which we wish to have each and every one of you scrutinize the content and the validity of everything that we are sharing to make sure that it's set, that we're not lying to you guys, we're not misinforming you, all the above. Should you find anything out of order within this broadcast or within the conversation that we share, we are live, guys. You can join the conversation and let us know in real time so that we can rectify it. Those of you who may find something that you do not necessarily agree with, we welcome all your comments. Be it right now as it happens or later on, depending on when you actually get the opportunity to watch, to listen, or to view the contents associated with this broadcast. We are truly open. We are truly working on behalf of our brothers and sisters, and we are truly literally in the open. That's all I can say to you guys, which means we're not afraid that you can come and join in the conversation, especially here at the studio, so that we can actually have an exchange that is really helpful and that adds value to each and every one of us on our daily basis. So those of you who would like to pass on some feedbacks, pass by our website, which is afrodominion.com or www.afrodominion.com. www.afrodominion.com. Our main email is info@afrodominion.com. info@afrodominion.com. When you get there, be sure to check all the information relevant to what you're looking for. And especially also, I would actually encourage you guys to join our group, right, where you can meet the rest of the like minds, those of you who would want to meet with the rest of our brothers and sisters here, so that you can actually get to find out what we are doing, especially that we keep on claiming that we are working on behalf of the people. So also those of you who aren't familiar with what we do here at Afro-Dominion, it's my pleasure to also give you a little quick brief about it. What is Afro-Dominion and what is Afro-Dominion Show? Afro-Dominion, it's an idea that inspires, advocates, and encourages, even goes to the extent of helping each and every one of you guys take the full control, take the full dominion of Africa, one nation at a time, by you, me, brothers and sisters, African descendants, all in the interest of our brothers and sisters, all in the interest of Africa, first and foremost, and then the rest of the world afterwards. So here at the show at Afro-Dominion, we ensure that all the programs that we are airing, that the programs that we are discussing with you guys should be the programs of which inspire, of which advocate, and of which encourages all of you guys to take the full dominion of Africa, one nation at a time, making sure that all of this is in the interest of our brothers and sisters all across Africa first and foremost, and then of course the rest of the world afterwards. Anything that you find to be contrary to that, by all means shoot us a message, let us know, so that we can actually either rectify it or give you some reasons as to why we're doing what we are doing. Our broadcast starts at 12 Eastern Standard Time and it ends at 1:30. Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Friday. So if you want to join us live, those are the time frames that you can find our conversation, and we will be more than happy to have you guys join in to the conversation. We have many themes. Every day has its own theme. We have 5 different themes, as you can imagine, and all those themes we get to program different content within. For instance, on Mondays we talk about the refugees and eradication of African refugees and stateless person. On Tuesday we talk about the constitutions, law, and policy review and implementations. Wednesdays we talk about our testimonies as Africans, and we get to write our own history. Thursdays we talk about the spirit of dominion, and Friday we talk about the current event or events and how it impacts Africa and African people. And given that today is Thursday, we get to talk about the spirit of dominion. And those of you who aren't familiar with what this is, dominion entails governing, management. Here we're talking about the African resources. How do you manage it? How do you maximize? How do you protect it to ensure that it's actually benefiting Africans first and foremost before everybody else? And with that in mind, guys, it comes down to specifically now another topic. What is the topic for today? It's why is Rwanda solving immigration problems and thousands of kilometers away before solving it, before solving its own similar problem? That's what we're talking about, and that's what we are going to talk about. Sadly to say, this is one of those issues that's been lingering around for now over 2 weeks, guys. And actually one of the reasons why we are now back at it, it's because now the presidency of Rwanda finally broke the silence. They literally said something about it. I do believe it was a day before yesterday when they had diplomatic dinner with all the with members of diplomatic corps in Rwanda. And usually this is when you can actually expect some of those some of those things being spoken on behalf of across the board to be explained. And these are the times when where actually you can expect the Rwandan presidency to actually pass messages to these members of diplomatic corps. And so we caught it. And those of you guys who aren't familiar with what we are talking about as well, this past 14th of April, the United Kingdom and Rwanda signed a deal where it's illegal immigrants. Let me add it this way, where it's unwanted illegal immigrants are to be transported, are to be sent to Rwanda for processing. And the process of these illegal immigrants who are not wanted in UK, it is basically going to be at the discretion of Rwanda. UK is willing to pay top dollars for it, or top pounds for it, I should say, so that the job is done. And we've been wondering, why is it that they're willing to pay all these millions of pounds for Rwanda to process these illegal immigrants that it doesn't want to begin with? They're willing to pay so that these illegal immigrants no longer have access to their own land. Meaning, no entry here, but we've already bought you a one-way ticket to Rwanda. They can do as they please. And one of the things that we criticized about that, it's actually many. The biggest one, it's actually Rwanda's own national security. And the region is national security. There is talks about mercenaries going through, especially that this is a very specific group of people who are going there. We're talking about mercenaries, potential wars coming through. There's so many other things happening. So with all the things that have been accumulating for these past 2 weeks, finally the Rwandan presidency had a saying in it. And I want you guys to actually pay attention to what the Rwandan presidency said about this whole situation and how it is just a problem. And I quote, it was just a problem. They are attempting to solve a problem. And so, all of you in the national community, really, you should just shut up and let Rwanda does what it does best. I'm actually paraphrasing. That's not what he said, which is why I want you to listen to it. Why is this important, guys? Every time we have a broadcast here, we want to make sure that you do not get sound bites. It's important that we do not just play a 30 seconds clip and then we talk about it. We want you to get the full context of the situation, not from the lenses of the Rwandan presidency. Because we've been criticizing it. We've been criticizing the situation for these 2 weeks, for these past 2 weeks. Now, finally, Rwanda also has something to say. And so I would like to have our technicians just play the clip a little bit so that you guys would have an opportunity to listen to what went down. And I want you guys to take some notes, because everything that I want to talk about literally right after you get to hear some of the remarks of what the Rwandan presidency said about this whole talk, this whole criticizing of its rightful action or its right to make deals with UK or anyone else that it sees fit. Please roll the clip so we can hear it right quick, and then we can proceed.
Recently, there is some discussion we have entered into with one of our partners and friend, United Kingdom, something to do with migration. I know it has caused another confusion, and I want to explain it to you. And again, I first had to say what I said, and I bring this because it should be seen in that context of who we are and who we want to be. Because I have seen some people say, you know, that United Kingdom gave us money and then they want to dump people here. No, we don't do that kind of thing. we don't buy and sell people. We can't do that, again, because of our core values. But I'll tell you what happened, and so that everyone is clear in their minds. In 2018, if many of you may recollect, I was the chair of the African Union. And during that time, so many stories, you know, many young, maybe some of them old Africans were perishing, dying in big numbers in the Mediterranean, being taken through Libya and to many parts of Europe. And I remember reading a story about a Ghanaian young man, an engineer, who happened to be following this path, and there are people, there are smugglers, you have networks who take people from Africa, different parts, and smuggle them into Europe. And that time they were using Libya because of its statelessness. There was confusion, there was no state in control. And in fact, hundreds, if not thousands of them were trapped in Libya in different places in the prisons, starving to death, others abused in all sorts of ways. Some people had started coming, picking some of them and taking them to their countries to use them as slaves. Slaves. And we were somewhere discussing with some of the leaders, and I was telling them, why don't we address this problem? I said, for example, for me, I am not just going to suggest this theoretically that it can work. I want to even provide an example. I said, let's find ways. If we got all these people trapped in Libya who they can't go back to where they came from, they can't move ahead to Europe where they wanted to go. And I told them, I can assure you, with all our weaknesses and whatever we have in our country, these people, if they were brought to Rwanda, they would live a better life than they are living in Libya, in these prisons. And I said, so if we brought them, then other countries interested in helping in this program, we can do the following. One, we can ask these people whether they want to go back to where they came from, now that they found themselves mistaken and in a very terrible situation in Libya. They may end up wanting to go back home. Because I had read that story of the Ghanaian I was telling you, who was, for him, he was an educated man, young man, but I think illusioned about. I think he was an engineer, the way I read it, but for some reason he wasn't employed. And so the networks that were smuggling people to Europe took him. And when he was in Libya, he got stuck. He found he was not going forward. So he had paid some amount of money which he got from his parents. You remember the story we were talking about, $800 or $900 he had been paying through to these smugglers. And so he started negotiating with the smugglers to take him back, and he would pay the same amount of, again, the same amount of money, which means 1,600 or 1,800. But this time he didn't have it. It would be paid when he got back to Ghana by, I think, his parents. So the smugglers took him back. But this is because he discovered there was no way of continuing to Europe. But even if he had reached Europe, by the way, I'm not sure, maybe what he had in mind he would become or was going to be the case. Maybe he was just going to be the same person as he was in Ghana, even in Europe, wherever he would be. He wasn't going to get that good living now. But anyway, so agreed, if they arrived here, they could easily be taken back home if they choose to go back home. Second, those European countries that have allowed migrants to come to Europe should come and stably select those they want to take to their countries, and that would be still better than these people being trapped in Libya. Then third, we provided another option. We said, for those who can't go back or don't want to go back for some reason of their own, and may not be selected by the countries that want to absorb them, we are giving them another option. We can actually find ways in which they can stay here. There were these three options in 2018. So I think that's how now this new situation developed, with the UK and others contacting us. It's like they learned from this case and said, can we have people processed here stably instead of being smuggled into our countries and doing this and that? And this time, they are not just going to be Africans. They may be, a number of them Africans. They are going to be other people from other countries. We allowed people from Afghanistan to come here. Even now, there are still students who were brought here. They are still staying with us. So I'm saying there are things that have really changed about us. And that's why I'm saying we don't have to learn values from anybody ourselves. We have values in us that we go by. So we can absorb Afghanistan, people from Afghanistan, from wherever, and if they are from Africa, we are even happier because they are like, we take them like family. So when the UK approached us, and because of that problem they have, I think they are smuggling people in these countries, left, right, center. So if we could talk about how to deal with that problem, we are happy to deal with that problem. There is, I understand, Denmark. So there is nothing bad about this. There is nothing we can't be transparent about this. There is nothing. So this is what it is. So, and this is who we are too. So I wanted to clear this, please. We are not. No. This is why I was saying there are things you can't buy about us. Yes, we are who we are, and we are proud people too. We are not. So we are not involved in buying and selling of people, Rwanda and the UK, or anybody. No, it's just a problem that people will have different views about it. They look at it differently. They're not happy about it. That's okay. People will have look at, but at the end of the day, you've got to do something.
So, there you have it. There you have it. At the end of the day, something has to be done. So the Rwandan presidency, apparently they've been catching a whole lot of fire, even from Rwandese people. And rightfully so, guys. But I like the way that very innocently, Rwanda says that they saw a problem for the United Kingdom and they solved it. And also, something else new that we've learned from this, from the comment. This just didn't happen yesterday, guys. We are 4 years later from within these negotiations. Since 2018, this issue was apparent and it was on the tables being discussed. Rwanda, being very generous and very nice, it wanted to take care of the United Kingdom problem. Why? It just didn't like to see our brothers and sisters perishing. And UK took the opportunity to say, hey, listen, you know what, why don't you take care of this little problem we're having, since apparently you can take care of it. Now, that sounds nice and everything, guys, and it's very commendable. We are nice people in Rwanda. I just want you to know it. And we are more than happy to help. In fact, as you guys, as all of you know, Rwanda is one of the nation that is using many soldiers of its own within the United Nations missions all across the world. So, reminding you, Rwanda is one of the poorest nations, yet we're doing amazing work all over the world, okay? And first and foremost, guys, and I'm not laughing, and this is not meant to be hysterical or anything like that. I just want you to imagine and think, because sometimes these leaders, they think we're very stupid, guys. It takes money, it takes resources, it takes a lot of work to do work. But I also understand it's also great to be ambitious. Now, the very end of this remarks was going like, it's just a problem. People will have different views about it, and they can look at it differently and talk about it. That's okay. But at the end of the day, we've got to do something about this situation in the United Kingdom. The presidency of Rwanda wants you to believe that it has an obligation to take care of the United Kingdom problem. And you wonder, in Burundi, in Tanzania, in Rwanda. No. Let me not mention Rwanda. In Burundi, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Just the four nations connected to Rwanda right now. Not only the housing a whole lot of Rwandese refugees. Within these 4 years, I would love to know how many refugees from Rwanda who were repatriated, voluntarily repatriated, and were actually helped to settle back in their own homelands? How many Congolese refugees were actually brought in? How many Kenyans? Now we talk about the East African community. How many South Sudanese? How many South Sudanese people? Go a little bit further. Were there any money involved within these past 4 years? Did Rwanda actually reach out to all those nations? Because we have a crisis as Africans when it comes to this refugees problem. And I understand these are politics, politics going on, politicians making deals. That's what they do. Now, we are not that stupid. Rwanda isn't going to take in refugees without any incentives. If it's one of the poorest country, let me give you a little comparison because I also did I did a little homework. The British GDP, 3 trillion. Rwanda's GDP, 10 billion a year. $3 billion on one guy, $3 trillion and 10 billion. Okay? I want you guys to think about this, guys. Sometimes it's like you're chewing an elephant, but you don't have the mouth to swallow it. Or you can't chew enough to be able to contain it. So Rwanda being as very nice, it wants to take care of the problem of the United Kingdom. Why? Because there's money involved. First and foremost, if there isn't any money, they're not going to take care of it. I like that they said here. They wanted to also talk about Denmark, because Denmark also, it actually saw the deal, and it also wants to bring its own people to Rwanda. And the president is saying there's nothing bad about this, guys. Please chill. There's nothing we can't be transparent about. Guys, I would like to know what's in for Rwanda if there is actually 100% transparency. If it is just being benevolent and really wanting to help the people who are stranded, the same way he gave an example to the people in Libya, people being taken in for slaves since 2018. What about people before that? It is going to be 28 years through the crisis within Rwanda. Rwanda has so many refugees all over the world than ever in its entire history as a nation right now. So instead of expediting the handling of this crisis, the Rwandan presidency wants you guys to believe that they are really, really more than happy to take in as many other foreigners before it takes in its own people. So there's a proverb in Kinyarwanda that goes something like, urusha nyina w'umwana ubu umuntu aba ashaka kumurya. It's something that goes in like the one person, if you have a heart, a loving heart, bigger, better than a mother who has bore her own child, you either want to sell out that child or you want to harm or to do something wrong to that child. The United Kingdom doesn't want to handle the problem that it has. Doesn't want the people to even step on the land, on their soil. They don't want it. That's bottom line. For whatever reason, they don't want it, period. It goes to the extent of saying, we are willing to pay for you to go away. We're not going to pay you people to go find somewhere else to go. We are going to pay Rwanda to take you guys in, and then you can be their own problem. They want money, we got money, so they can go deal with you guys. Against the Refugee Convention laws, by the way. Now, funny thing, because I want you guys to get to see it also. Let me see if I can put on the screen there. Help me, guys. Make it bigger so they can see that. And give me the mouse too. There you go. Good deal. So, guys, if you look on the if you look on my screen here, it might be small. I don't know how you guys, if you are able to see it very well. So the speech was good and nice and everything, but I'm not sure if the presidency was aware that the agreement was going to be public. So if the United Kingdom doesn't want these people, they're very adamant that they don't want it at all. At all, they don't want these people. They would rather just push it to another nation. That is already contrary to the Refugee Convention, guys. The Refugees Convention laws. The 1951 Refugees Convention agreements, and the United Kingdom is a part of it, and so is Rwanda. The relocation to Rwanda. And here, let's read here. Actually, let me go to 3.1 first, because I want you guys to know some of the things, the details of relocation arrangement. The United Kingdom will determine, the United Kingdom will determine the timing of requests for relocating individuals. Now, the UK will be the one determining, okay, under these agreements, and numbers of requests for the relocation to be made during the term of this arrangement. The UK will not be obliged to make any request for relocating under this agreement. All transfer requests by the UK will require approval by Rwanda prior to any relocation, okay? The participant will make arrangement for the process of requests and approval of individual for relocation by Rwanda, taking into account Rwanda's capacity to receive them and in relation to all administrative needs associated with the transfer. In line with national legislation, Rwanda will ensure timely issuance of any authorization required for the overflight of the territory and the landing of Rwanda commercials, blah, blah, blah. So, over here, my God, Rwanda's capacity to receive these refugees. I think last week sometimes we talked about the size of the United Kingdom versus the size of Rwanda. UK is 9 times bigger than Rwanda, and it doesn't want to handle one single illegal immigrant on their own territory. Rwanda, who has 9 times lesser of a territory in size, much more. Rwanda has so many more people per density square mile than the United Kingdom. It wants to take on even more people. Guys, only if you just have a problem in your head, how can actually the presidency is one of the highest institution in any country. They coming in here with the audacity to say this is not a problem. They're just helping. They're not telling you all these extra details that they have to be in account for. Some of these details, guys, you would even wonder if these details or if the issues with this problem is not going to actually collide with some of the local Rwandese people. I took the liberty to go through the what they call the law, the immigration law within Rwanda. It's a law number 57 of 2018, and it seems like actually this law was put in place when when they started the conversation, when they started talking. I don't know, I'm speculating, because according to the presidency, they say that these discussions been going on since 2018. And if you guys are looking here, this law was actually created and enacted back in 2018. Immigration and emigration in Rwanda. Specifically, guys, I want you guys to pay attention to Article right here, the section that says entry into, exit from, stay, and residence in Rwanda. By the way, I took the liberty, guys, to give you the link right where I got this, laws from, because it's very necessary to read it, guys. So I am wondering, guys, with Rwanda having its very limited capacity, taking on another problem for a country bigger with more capacity than it can, at least 3,000 times in capacity, better capacity to handle this problem. Are we mental that even to the very highest of the highest of the highest of the institution in Rwanda, they can come in and tell you, international community, specifically members of diplomatic corps, that hey, don't sweat, we got this. We are more than capable of handling these refugees. I mean, you can lie to each other publicly, but I'm wondering if you, the people, are also buying this narrative. So check this out, guys. The conditions of entry and exit from Rwanda, condition of stay and residence, health requirements, financial requirement categories, and visas and residence, denial of visa, cancellation of prohibited foreigner in Rwanda, inadmissible person, irregular foreigner in Rwanda, exemptions. So it seems like this little deer was actually can actually be admitted under these exceptions, meaning at the discretion of the Rwandese government, they can receive as many people as they want because there's an exception to this law. It's like they created a law and they added a loophole. Those of you Africans, I hope you can hear me when I say a loophole. Guys, this is a game being played on you, the people. I am not sure if you guys are actually seeing what's happening here. Rwanda, I want to remind you that I say Africa has the best policies, best laws on the books, in the books, best constitution. But they are barely following these constitutions. Prime example here in Rwanda. I want to ask of you, what are the legal requirements for this deal to go through? What are the political requirements, social requirements? Were all these requirements actually being checked and overchecked to make sure that this deal is very clear and concise? Were there any international conflicts with the deal? However, up front, the United Kingdom and Rwanda were very quick to say, where did I read this? That this arrangement, this agreement will not be binding in international law. In other words, they want to make sure that should you raise any problems, they're not under any, they basically don't have to explain themselves to you. For the avoidance of doubt, commitments set out in this memorandum are made by the United Kingdom to Rwanda and vice versa, and do not create or confer any rights on any individual, nor shall compliance with this arrangement be justifiable in any court of law by a third party or individual. Are you guys listening? And this is where I really have a problem with you, the people. How does someone who's mentally stable, who's mentally okay, not read paragraph 2.2, especially this line that says right here? Nor shall compliance with this agreement be justifiable in any court of law. They're telling you they don't have to justify themselves to you, even if you go to court. Up front, we do not have to justify it to any of you. Say whatever it is that you want, but we don't need to justify ourselves to you. And I'm wondering to you guys, I want you to look at it very carefully. If they're already telling you that they do not have to justify themselves to you, what do you think is going to happen to the rest of these agreements that they have already enacted? Tell me, what do you think is going to happen? They're clearly telling you that they do not have to justify themselves to you, especially you, the people, or you, the judicial bodies in any of these nations. And then again, you still think that this is actually some sort of, that they're asking you permission to bring the people there? They're not seeking your permission, guys. They're telling you what they're doing, which is why the parliament in Rwanda have not discussed this. I actually have checked. According to their registry, the publication, I haven't seen anywhere that they publicly debated about this. At the very least, the United Kingdom was very quick to actually post the memorandum publicly. I have yet to see where Rwanda posts its own memos so that the people can actually have a saying in it before they sign it. Do you know why that happens? Because they're not working for the people. They are not working for the people. Now here's the kicker. Remember, we've been talking about slavery and how we've become modern slaves. You've noticed that the Rwandan presidency did also allude to that they saw slavery taking place in 2018 and they wanted to solve the problem. But they forgot to mention that they have been a part of the problem as well. Except that they just don't want to be, they don't want to be under scrutiny. What am I saying? The problem we have right now, the refugee problem we have in Rwanda, especially this mass refugee problem we have in Rwanda, it is a result of the war started by this government in 1990, October 1st, 1990. This government was a rebel group back then. Committed all kinds of treason, committed all kinds of heinous crimes for those 4 years. Which, by the way, is one of the reasons why they constantly say that the genocide in Rwanda started in October in 1990. Because the only people who were dying from 1990 to 1994 were the people being killed by the rebel, by the Rwandan Patriotic Front, turned into government today. Yesterday we had another testimony in Kenya, Rwanda. I've told you guys that we're collecting so many testimonies as to what's been happening to us, specifically Rwandese people. But we want to make sure that when the time comes, we can actually use these evidences. They are publicly available. We can use them for you to actually admit and see how unjust we have been, guys. Or even as the international community, that it's been so unjust. It leans to whichever sides that actually conveniently takes care of its needs. The Rwandan Patriotic Front has killed so many people from the era of 1990, October 1st, 1990 to 1994, right before the genocide. Not one single crime that they've committed, they had yet to answer, to respond. Refugees were caused by the war, and then, of course, the aftermath of the war. And here, that same problem still has yet to be solved. They are willing to take on other problems because they are very benevolent. They care so much about the slaves in Libya, but they do not care about the slaves in Rwanda, the slaves in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the slaves in so many other nations nearby. How can we be so hypocritical. Now this is actually laughable, guys. Members of diplomatic corps, we're talking about worldwide, those who have their representation in Rwanda. They're sitting down and they're listening to this. None of them mentions anything against it, which means your silent is also an approval. Your silent, it's an agreement to that which is being shared with you. So all these nations, they're like, okay, no worries, we got you. Because these representatives are actually nations on two legs. You guys should know that. And then they got to say, we are proud people too. We are not involved in buying and selling of people in Rwanda and the United Kingdom. It sure looks that way. The legislatures in both nations, what have they done prior to actually signing this deal? How many Rwandese people can claim that they knew about this beforehand? Let's even talk about the members of parliament, not even an average citizen. How many of them knew what was happening? And I will submit to you that only the very few on the need-to-know basis knew of this deal, or at least from the little investigation we've been conducting. So you wonder, when we talk about leadership in any one of our nations, if you're lying to the people publicly and openly and boldly, and it's okay, don't you see that the rest of the aftermath of that, it's also going to depend on what it is that you have been feeding them? I was so dumbfounded when I literally read the ending that they've got to do something about this UK problem. That something has to be done. And Rwanda found that it's equipped to deal with it, first and foremost. I mean, guys, nothing wrong with taking initiatives. It's, in fact, something I commend. You have an initiative and you want to do something, especially that improves other people's livelihood. It's great. But at whose expense, though? This whole document that I showed you just a few minutes ago, I have not seen anywhere that they're actually capping. They're letting you know numbers of people who are going to be brought into Rwanda. Minding you that Rwanda is 1/9 the size of the United Kingdom. Little to no money to handle it. They're going to be receiving money from the United Kingdom to handle its own problem. So why is it that the United Kingdom doesn't want to handle it by itself? Why is it that none of the European nations have opened up and handled the problem? None of them. Minding you, the European Union, it's a huge body, way more capacity than even the United Kingdom to take care of the problem. How is it that they have not taken on this challenge? It's only a few miles away from the UK, but they are willing to just go and dump him thousands and thousands of miles away in Africa, because again, it's a plantation. Nobody's going to say anything about it. The managers are not going to say anything about it. We talk about proud people. It's like an insult here, to be honest. You want to clear out the things? Being proud to take care of other people's problem except your own problem? You're not involved in buying and selling of people? Guys, you young people, you young Rwandans, I really ask of you to scrutinize a lot of these deals, guys. Really scrutinize what's happening, because everything that is happening before it's signed, you ought to know what it is, guys. That's why you have representation. But if you have representations that do not work, you also have an obligation to your nations, guys. Why would you, why is this problem even there today? The United Kingdom has a problem that it doesn't want to take care of. That it doesn't want to take care of. That's just the bottom line. And they're soliciting all over. Who wants to take care of the problem? For us, we are willing to give you money. And we participate. Why? Because there is incentives, money. But then you wonder how many other refugees, how many other people with similar problem in Africa alone that Rwanda cannot observe. Rwanda was so quick to say we have Afghanistans, we have Congolese, we have Burundians, we have people here and there, Libya, Eritreans, we've got at least 130,000 people that we have observed as Rwandese people. According to the foreign ministry, to the foreign relation ministry. Do you think that the Rwandan taxpayer have the capacity to observe that? Especially if there isn't any other incentives on the top of it. I submit to you that it's a no, guys. We have many problems, but the solutions are so different. So sorry, guys. So, it's regrettably that we're actually talking about this again. I don't know how many times we've been talking about this, but I really I would hope that we don't come back to these issues. We may have to, but I hope we don't come back to these issues. Because some of this is beyond laughable, guys. It is beyond laughable. Africa is being set up in your own eyes, and none of you guys can see it. Before Libya became stateless or statelessness, lawlessness in Libya, how many refugees they had all over Africa? Do you guys remember what happened to Libya? How did Libya become what it is today? How many of you African nations actually get together and say, hey, we have a problem here, let's take care of it before it becomes an even bigger problem? Look at the issues we have in the Democratic Republic of the Congo today. 15+ million in the whole East African community. Dead people because of wars. Guys, you can sneeze and you can find a problem related to refugees, immigration and emigration. But we are cherry picking which one of the issues we want to handle. There is something that was also that I found to be a bit offensive, at least when I read it, when I've listened to it, and I'm gonna give it to you guys. So on one side, Rwanda claims that it's not in the business of buying and selling people. However, when it provided an option number 2, specifically, those European countries that have allowed migrants to come to Europe should come and stably select the ones they want to take to their country, and that will still be a better deal. When you go to a marketplace and they have a bunch of goats, you Africans who love goats, who love meat, you go there and you select which one you want. Back during the slavery time period, guys, slaves were actually were paraded in front of slave masters or potential slave masters. They were allowed to select, to cherry pick whom they wanted. That is a very vivid memory, guys, from slavery. Now he's proudly telling you that right now, any of these European nations, you can say any of these slave masters, they can come in and they select, they cherry pick whom they want to bring in their own land, and then they leave the rest. Those who are left behind, we may actually work something with you. We can observe you. We can give you another option that can potentially allow you to stay in Rwanda. Guys, if you do not find anything problematic about this whole arrangement, and also the United Kingdom being that it's one of those nations that follows the human rights laws and all of that, guys, I don't know what it is. Discrimination at its best. Those European countries that have allowed migrants to come to their country should come and stably select. Do you know what it means to select? You cherry picking, meaning there is those that you may want and those that you may not want. If all these folk have the same problem, if they're looking for asylum, refugee, whatever, and they've already came to your land, you don't want them. You would rather have other cherry pick whom they wanted, and then the rest you don't care. That's the picture that I'm seeing out of this. And Rwanda says, well, we can house them temporarily. Come and pick whom you want to pick. The rest of them, we'll see what we can do with them, and then kumbaya. As long as we can take some money, as long as you can give us the money, we got it. We can take care of it. Guys, this is the money, guys. This is treating the people like cattle. If you cannot see business arrangement here, if you cannot see selling, transferring back and forth of human beings, I don't know what else you can call it. Now these are not the people, these are not critics. This is now the presidency of Rwanda telling you that it's better, that we house you here. And those who want you can come in and collect you. Those who don't want you, we will figure out what to do with you. Bottom line, if you come here, we can take care of it so long as we get some money. Guys, pay attention. Pay attention, guys. It's sad. It is very sad. It is very, very, very sad. Sometimes I actually don't have words to express some of the things we've been witnessing in my little short lifetime on this planet. I mean, the more I grow, the more I've been seeing things, and I'm like, I mean, it's so disgraceful of the people leading the rest of the people on planet Earth. We champion ourselves, talking about we want to uphold the rule of law. We want to uphold the rights of every human being, the human rights. Yet we are the very first one to offend a lot of these rights. How many of these people have committed crimes that you do not know of? How many of them? How is Rwanda going to actually, who's going to provide for the capacity for the Rwandese government to go and investigate thousands and thousands and thousands of these immigrants that the United Kingdom doesn't want, to ensure that none of them will be coming in with more problems that are going to be far longer, far more problematic for the Rwandan and the Rwandan people, the Rwandan citizens, to deal with later on, especially if they do stick around. For example, according to, if we don't look at the exemption, because right now the Rwandan government is using the exemption in the law to actually receive these people, the loophole that they created for themselves. So meaning they can actually decide whom they are going to apply a loophole to and whom they are going to ignore. Again, that's discrimination up in the open. And the people can say nothing about it. So let me read you just a couple things here that I want you to pay attention to. Just a couple things here, okay? I believe it is found on Article... Okay, let's read Article 11 first of the Immigration and Immigration Law, okay? This will be Article 11 of this specific. Let me read it out so that you guys... Article 11 of Law number 57/2018 of 13th of August 2018 on immigration and immigration in Rwanda. So Article 12, and it reads, let me put it up here. Article 12, prohibited foreigners in Rwanda. A prohibited foreigner in Rwanda is a foreigner who negates or minimizes genocide, engages in activities detrimental to national security, public order, or good morals, is subject to an arrest warrant for crimes committed abroad, and was sentenced by foreign courts if such crimes are recognized by Rwanda, has been expelled from the country for security grounds, is a member, a supporter of an association or organization characterized by acts of any form of discrimination causing unrest. A person having declared a prohibited foreigner in Rwanda is required to leave the country within a prescribed period of time. Is not allowed to return unless decided otherwise. So, the UK is going to be dumping people to Rwanda unless it has already screened these people thoroughly. Because there's no amount of money that you're going to give to another foreign nation for you to bring thousands and thousands and thousands of people who potentially have illegal papers, they have some sort of history. The investigation, the amount of money that it's going to require the Rwandan government to investigate every single one of these individuals before he or she is given some sort of status in Rwanda, it's going to be insane. Now the UK already knows how much it costs. That's why they are willing to give these millions of dollars. On the flip side, guys, which is now another story that you should be on the lookout for, they have already pre-cherry-picked. They literally have pre-selected people who are to be brought in. Young, healthy people. And they're calling a deterrence. Which is why last week you've heard a lot of media talking about mercenaries coming to Rwanda, preparing for a war in the East African community and Africa. Mercenaries being deployed from Rwanda, disguised as refugees, paid to come in by the United Kingdom. Now, that sounds a little familiar. There is something they call security advisors. Security advisors or military advisors. These are most of them are fully fledged soldiers from the West. Now, when they come to a foreign land, they don't want to declare themselves as professional soldiers. They just give them a little more nice title for the public. Security advisors, military advisors. Never mind the rest. Now you imagine if you're African, if you're like a commando or a spy, and you make it to the United Kingdom and you say, I'm just a security advisor. What was your profession in your country? I was a security advisor. What kind of security advisor? The more they will probe in, they will not allow you through. Especially when they realize, like, wait, this guy, as a security advisor, not only he can be a security risk, a national security risk, but it could be also a spy. Now, if they are not allowing any of these people on board, that is just the bottom line, the very first and foremost, they don't want to allow anybody in. They're willing to pay you to go away. How in the world is Rwanda going to take you in? Not having actually even investigated as to why the United Kingdom doesn't want you. Or maybe they have, but they decided, hey, no worries, we're good here, we can take you. Minding you all these other problems that they have. Rwanda has yet to check in with the East African Community member states, member countries, as to, hey, how can we help you guys with the refugee problem? Its own membership in the East African Community should at least say, hey, let's take care of our own problem first, so we can actually be exemplary to the rest of the world that, hey, we no longer have refugee problems here, we no longer have immigrants problem here, so fairly we can actually take your money and show you what to do, because not only we have experience, but we have successfully transformed this region in a such way that we no longer have this situation of immigrants. And we know that is not the case. So guys, let me not talk too much about this, because you already know what time it is. You're seeing flood in the open. Though the presidency of Rwanda, on the record, they said there's no problem here. We're just trying to help, that's all. We are just trying to help. Instead of you being stuck in Libya, instead of you being stuck somewhere you can potentially become another slave, just come to Rwanda. We can take care of you. We feel bad that you may potentially be a slave to somebody. So just come in. But little that you know, we have millions of Rwanda who are still refugees, who are still in tents for 30, 40, 50 years. And Rwanda has yet to extend an arm to them and allow them to come in and secure them the same way they are willing to secure you. Just in case you guys don't know, they've been removing people out of their home, preparing for you guys to come in. If there aren't any incentives, I don't see how a genocide survivor is going to be removed from the house to be given to an immigrant, an illegal immigrant coming in the nation. Solving illegal immigrant problem, causing now an internal problem up front at the very beginning. And you're telling me that you, the international community, in good conscience, in good faith, you're minding your own business. They also told you up front, they have no obligation to any of you in a court of law. They have zero obligations. Nothing to tell you. They are not answerable to any of you. And you still found this deal to be in good faith, in the very best interest of the people, especially you, the United Kingdoms. A deal like this, you allow it to happen I'm not sure. There are more compass which direction is looking towards. But it certainly isn't in the direction that I will personally say that it's a great direction. You're dumping your responsibilities towards a country that is not able to handle those responsibilities. You're willing to pay for someone else to clean your own mess. If you are so decent, if you are so kind, why is it that the same thing Rwanda is able to do, given how poor it is, you are not capable of doing it? Given how rich, how wealthy you are as a nation. You're bigger in size, you're bigger on the wallet size, you're bigger intellectually as you claim, yet you don't want that same problem. That should already point out a big problem that you Africans should be on the lookout for. Now, when we criticize this, we are not hating. I am pro-business, guys. Business is business. But when you come and you claim to work and you claim to work for the people, I consider you a fiduciary person. For those of you who are not familiar with a fiduciary person, it's usually one of these terms utilized mostly during financial transaction. Banks have fiduciary people. And these people, one of their tasks is to ensure that they look after the very best interest of the client, not the very best interest of the bank attempting to do business with them. They ought to be fiduciary people to scrutinize every single one of these agreements that some of these government thugs are having among themselves. Because if you're not looking at the best interest of the people, someone has to stop you up front and ensure that they actually communicate to the people of your intentions. I like to follow things, guys. When it comes to Rwanda, I've checked. There is nothing that talks about this deal publicly on the Rwandan side, whereas the people had a word, had a saying in it before it happened, where the members of parliament discussed it, whereas members of the Senate discussed it publicly. They may have discussed it privately somewhere, but I haven't seen anything publicly showing that they have. The Rwandese government has an official gazette. This is where they publish everything that they want the people to know. Legally required to publish. Not doing you favors, guys. I want you to know that. I've checked, and I will actually double check. Even if it means we go back as many years back, we will check. But I have yet to see where the people were aware of this deal, where they actually injected feedbacks as to whether they support or whether they absolutely reject the deal. So Rwanda, being Rwanda, decided for the people up front. Why? Because the people don't decide for themselves. The laws in the books, the policies in the books, the constitution in the books, it's fabulous. But the people are so unaware, unwilling to publicly challenge anything written in it. They found themselves dead, executed, disappeared, or imprisoned. Check out the human rights reports. Even check out the United Kingdom's own findings when it comes to Rwanda. Human rights abuses reports from the United Kingdom itself. Yet, they still go past their own findings and still do deals. That tells me either you don't care of everything that you're saying, or you just want your problem to be taken care of by any means necessary. Because knowing what you know and publicly pulling it out there, you either assuming or thinking that everybody's stupid, that they cannot find anything contrary to what's happening, or you are so confident that nobody is going to dare challenge the status quo as far as the people, the citizens, because everything is on a lockdown. Now, sooner or later, history is going to tell, guys. Some of the things that we are refusing to do before it happens, Mother Nature is going to force us to do them when we don't have an opportunity to actually do it willingly. Anytime you're bringing in foreigners and you're removing your own people, you are shuffling, you are exchanging people. You are diluting a culture. You are destroying a culture. You are destroying values. You heard the president say we have our own values. Apparently, you do have your own values, but they do not appear to be Rwandese values. One of the values is being able to value your fellow citizens, especially when you claim to represent them in those matters. But when it shows that you have zero regards for their own opinion, first and foremost, and you're supposed to be working on their own behalf, that should be an alarm to most of you, especially members of the diplomatic corps. You already know this for years. It is not something new. Yet you're turning a blind eye. So you go figure, the people. This is what's happening right now. In any case, guys, all of this, it's something that's happening publicly. We reject all of this. This is fixing a wound, but not addressing the root cause. This is just washing off some of the visible issues with the wound, but not going to the bottom of the issues. Why do we have immigrants leaving Africa? You have endless wars, political instability, social instability, social unrest, mass murder, so many murders taking place, so many executions taking place, discrimination in the open, rapes in the open, sanctioned rape in the open. Something I like to call political and economic, even social, political and economic rape of African states, African countries. All of this is happening because we are allowing it to happen. You have colonizers doing it because they still need our resources within Africa. They want to manage it. They want to take care of it themselves. Not even asking, they want to take over. And that's how you find all these managers installed in various African government, beating the bids of the Westerners, without the people knowing it, or oftentimes with the people knowing it but unable to do anything because they've already been rendered slaves within their own nations. In 2022, you no longer have to export people physically in Europe, in the United States, in the West. The West can come to you and do business not in your own home country. Because sovereignty, it's a thing of yesteryear. Sovereignty does not exist anymore in Africa, guys. It's only on piece of papers. But the reality shows us differently. And it's about time that we do something about that, guys. if the United Kingdom can adamantly say, hell no, you're not coming. You are not stepping on our land. I just have a problem that none of the boldness that these nations have can be mimicked, just mimicked in Africa, anywhere in Africa. I am longing to see the day when the Democratic Republic of the Congo can say, hell no, none of you are coming in here. From today, if you're foreign and you're here illegally, be out. +90 million people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They do not have the capacity to police their own borders. 90 million people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, one of the most wealthiest nations on planet Earth, doesn't have the capacity to police its borders, to police its region. What's wrong with that picture? You have Rwanda able to police the whole entire region by itself. What's wrong with that picture, guys? That's what I'm going to leave this whole conversation with, because we're drinking the Kool-Aid. But it is so upsetting that those who are providing the Kool-Aid, they actually try to make you think you're crazy. Today we are open. Our eyes are open. It's not like yesteryears when we were not reading, we following, guys. And I encourage all of you young people, be on the lookout, because this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of the changes now you can feel right away. These changes are as old as back in 2001. These changes are as old as back in 2001. But for some countries, you are just feeling it today. And to some of the citizens, you are just becoming aware of the problems today. But they've been 20 years preparations. And I'm wondering how in the world 20 years preparation is going to explain to you overnight of what's been going on if you've been completely clueless about it. You haven't followed for the past 20 years, and now the idea, now the actual initiative is on your lap 20 years after, and you're getting an opportunity to scrutinize, to see these changes. Are you crazy, guys? Is this how you look after the very best interest of your own kind? I always ask this question. If your nation was your personal business and you have 100% stake in it, would you run it the way it's being ran today by all these individuals? Would you run it the same way, knowing that you are now the one to answer afterwards? And I submit that it will be a heck to the no. A lot of things are taking place because most of the people doing it do not care, guys. You can actually study this yourselves and prove us wrong. In any case, guys, let me be out of here. I hope you guys get to really think a little bit more closely as to what's going on, because everything that's happening, guys, has a beginning. And nothing was hidden. It is all up in the open, except that our people, we just don't read. We don't follow. We only follow when we are reacting. This is like we've been reacting to this when there was 20 years of preparation and putting things in place. So guys, thank you so much. Give us some feedbacks to this, to these findings. and let us know what you think. Should you really be proud of what's happening right now, especially if you are Rwanda? Let us know what you think. info@afridominion.com. It's our email. The website is www.afridominion.com. Guys, I really hope that we get to do better, because we had expected to do better as a people. We cannot take full control of Africa, its dominion, without us knowing what's happening, without us being the architect of the plans that we going to instill, that we are going to implement tomorrow. And unless that happens, guys, we are just going in full circles, day in and day out. With that in mind, guys, I'm Freeman Singirankabo here at Afri Dominion. I am wishing you all a beautiful day. Stay on the lookout, guys, and don't be discouraged by a lot of these changes taking place. They are going to take place with or without us liking it. We might as well be the wind that actually does all the changing. But don't let it just go by without you doing what you have to do. Thank you kindly, guys, for the opportunity to serve you. Until we see you next time, I'm Freeman here at Afri Dominion. You have yourself a super fantastic day. Until next time.